Let me go back a tiny bit. I was born in London, brought up
Okay.
to about the age of 10 in London, and then I was taken back to Nigeria by my parents.
Okay.
And I was educated in Nigeria. I went to University of Lagos,
Wow.
did my degree in microbiology, and then I went to College of Medicine, Idiaraba, and I did my master's in medical microbiology and parapsychology. So after my
Okay.
studies, I came back to the UK and I started working as a biomedical scientist in a hospital, St. Mary's Hospital. And after training, because in those days you got a job as a trainee, you got trained, and then after completing my training, I went over to Great Ormond Street Hospital to work as a scientist. And I was at Great Ormond Street Hospital for about 7 years. And I remember thinking
Okay.
there's got to be more to life than being in a lab all the time. And I wanted to go into business. And I did what we do in experience. I just went off and did another degree. So I did an MBA
Okay.
and did my MBA. But it was while I was doing the MBA that I realized that the degree will not get me to where I wanted to go. So I had to learn how to network. And that was when I believe my career really started, because it was easy to get a job in the lab. Not easy, because to be honest with you, the way I got the job in the lab was literally by walking into a hospital and I asked to speak to the head of department of microbiology, and he came out and I said, look, I just want a job. I don't care what I do. I will
Okay.
clean, I will make a cup of tea. And he said, wait there. And he went inside and he photocopied all the trainee jobs for me. So that was the first bit of, I would say, favor that I got, because those jobs I would have never known about them because they were in a specialist magazine. So after I then thought, okay, I need to leave the lab, I then decided to do an MBA. And I used the same method. I literally asked my business school if I can have a job after doing the MBA, because so many people had turned me down for a few jobs in the city. But I know that I needed a job to bridge the gap. So I asked my business school and they said, look, we don't have a lot of money, but we can give you a title and we can give you an email. So I took the job.
Okay.
So I would say that again was another bit of favor, because I was able to use my position as head of MBA careers at the business school. I leveraged that. So I used that to get into a lot of spaces. I was just networking. And it was in the course of networking that I met a guy and he said to me, I'm starting my own company. Would you like to join me as a headhunter? So that's how I got my headhunting job. And once I got that headhunting job, I became very good at it. I learned, I studied, I did what I had to do. I wrote articles for the company website. I also did a lot of job hunting, because in those days, the guy did a lot of job hunting workshops. So I learned from
Okay.
him how to do his workshop. So, and many people don't like public speaking, and I don't like public speaking either. But I thought to myself, I have no money, I have no connections, and I'm black, so I need to do something that'll make me stand out. So while he was delivering job hunting workshops, I was learning from him how he delivers and what he says and stuff like that. And that was
Okay.
how I learned how to deliver those workshops. So I started my third career as a cake maker. I then called a particular office and the girl said, do you make cupcakes? I said, yes, I make cupcakes. I got the samples, they liked the samples. And that's how I started working with them. She was my first high-end client, and she was lovely. I mean, while the other planners were not so nice, she was so nice. And then after the party, after I delivered it to her, she then wrote me a testimonial. And she said I can use that testimonial in my marketing. So of course I took the testimonial and I plastered it everywhere. I used it everywhere. And that was how I got started working with the really rich, the famous, royalty, celebrities. It was a long process, but I got there in the end. So that was how Elizabeth Cake Emporium really came to being. But alongside that, when you're working for the ultra high net, you are only as good as your last job. So you can't take anything for granted. So I did a lot of things. I tried to make sure that, the marketing, the images in particular, the images of my cakes, I tried to make sure they were good. And then alongside that, I didn't want to be the face of the company and that was down to me, because sometimes as a Black person in the UK, you are worried if they see a Black face, will they buy from me? So, you're sometimes worried. But I kind of, after several years of making the cake, people got to know me anyway. So it didn't really matter. And also when you're dealing with a certain level of clients, if they like you, they like you. If they don't like you, they don't like you. And it has nothing to do with whether you're Black or white or whatever. So, like I said, there was a lot of learning along the way. And then I was doing the cakes, everything was fine. And then COVID happened. And then when COVID happened, I was asked to speak on so many forums. And I started talking about luxury business. I started talking about how, things people need to be aware of, the different types of luxury clients, etc. And I was really surprised that many people didn't know what I knew. So because I was talking about it so much, I decided why not investigate a bit further. And that was how the idea of the book came to be.
Today Africa Podcast is a podcast series where we interview African entrepreneurs and professionals and share the stories behind their businesses. In each interview, we ask how they got started, how they grew, and how they run their business today. The stories are inspiring and also provide specific advice and insight into starting a business. By sharing these stories, we want to help others get started.